Hello guys, and welcome back to the Being Prepared series. As the title says, it's going to be about water, but before I get there, I want to thank you guys for all the nice comments and personal messages I've received since doing the Urban Prepper podcast, as well as welcome to all the new subscribers to the channel. Stay tuned, buckle up, and feel free to PM me, send me a message, let me know what you want to see. That's what it's all about. As I said on that podcast, I really wish that the community sense of YouTube was there. Back when I started this, we used to be able to do video responses, and it felt like more of a community. I think that's part of the reason that some of our old school YouTubers that are still around still have that connection, is because we were able to share and have a conversation, and that's kind of the goal of these Being Prepared series. So, with that out of the way, water. Now, when I did the security intro video, I did say that security is the most important pillar of, preparedness, of being prepared. If you disagree with that, it's hard to disagree with the fact that water is a close second. Water is going to be one of the most important things that you prepared for, that you have any sort of preps or the ability to acquire water. It's going to be a multi-stage level. Those of you that live in apartments aren't going to be on well water. This is really very dependent on where your home situation is. I will say, for what I do, mine is still very much tiered. Yes, I do have 55-gallon drums, the plastic blue barrels. I've had those for years, going back even when I lived in Seattle. Rain barrel and rain procurement was a big part of my preparations in an urban environment, especially with all the rain that Seattle got. It just was a no-brainer up there. Now, here in Central Oregon, in the high desert, I get about 8 inches a year. I do have a rain procurement. I use it on the garden occasionally, but it's more of an additional piece. Now, the other thing that we have here in the high desert that I've spoken before in previous preparedness videos is this insane large network of irrigation canals. Now, I will let you know that it is not legal to take water out of irrigation canals unless you are paying for that specific use. In an emergency, yes, you could use it. I would say so. But they are available. So if you are near one where your house is, we've got one very close to us, not far in fact, and if you bug out, it's not hard to hit the BLM land here in Oregon and run across an irrigation canal. And even when they've stopped pumping the water, have turned it upline, there's generally ponds that are created. I digress. I don't want this video to be too long, but have sources. If you follow Coyote Works, Casey, who does a lot of little jeeping videos, he loves getting out and finding old wells and old mining sites and things of that nature. But if you are out in the high desert and there's free range cattle, follow them. They will tell you where the natural springs are. And there are a lot out there in the middle of the desert. A friend of mine used to run cattle from this butte, way multi-day trip out to another butte. Won't get into too far of it. But if he ever lost a cattle, he would find them at the springs, and that also let him know where all the fresh water was that he would need for him and his horses and his men when they were doing that. So the research that goes into this, knowing where, if I can't get water, if my tap doesn't work, where am I going to get that water? That's a big one about just knowing where it's going to go. I mentioned the 55-gallon drums. Now, if you have to leave your home or move, you're not taking those with you. It's over 450 pounds if you do the math of water weight. So there's other things you can do in your house, but think of it as a module system. You can get one of those water bobs and put into your bathtub. If you don't have that, still fill your bathtub. Even if the whole city shuts down with water, you're going to have enough residual pressure to generally fill your bathtub. Of course, you've got things like the tank on the back of your toilet. You've got the hot water heater. There's various places that you can get creative pulling water out of. But just do that. Whether you're using it to just flush the toilet, to take a shower, to boil later, having that container like a giant bathtub is a great already created container that you don't have to worry about in an apartment building. So I talked about stages. So those big cisterns, 55-gallon drum, you're not taking those with you. What if you need to leave and go? Then, of course, I've got 5 and 6 gallon jerry cans. A review I've got coming up right now, one of my favorite that I've been using almost a year now, is the LifeSaver jerry can. It is a filter unit built into a jerry can. I'll put in a quick shot here. Look forward to that review coming down. But we're going to spin this around because, again, continuing the modularity, after 5-gallon Jerry's come, bladder packs, Camelbacks, the collapsible, so that if you're carrying several liters on you and you find more and you're like, I still want this here, I'm not going to just drink it, you can add that, and then they don't take up a lot of space. And we'll spin this around and look at. All right, guys, welcome back to the table here. We're just going to cover a few things that are easier to show here. Talking about Camelback bladders. Almost every backpack I have has some sort of a Camelback. I will let you know my favorite that I've used for absolutely years that I've come to trust is the Hydro Pack. It's by, I think, Geiger. The material that this is made out of is just a little bit more elastic, and I've had this one for going on 8 years, I think, many years, and it does not get brittle and crack. You can go find the Geiger website where they literally, the Geiger rig, where they literally run this thing over with a truck. They throw it out of stuff to prove that it's safe. Other things that I like is this sip-off open top. So not only can I get my hand in to clean this, it's easy to fill. It's just a really cool design. The biggest difference than any other filter you're going to see is it is pressure based. So it is a little bit more cumbersome to hook up to a backpack. You're going to have the standard drinking straw on one side, and over here you're going to have a hand pump. And you're literally going to pump air into this bladder so that it's not only easier to drink, but I would not run any bladder that didn't have some sort of, this is kind of a motorcycle survival kit in here at the moment, some sort of inline filter. And the reason, again, I like the Geiger rig is because they run these all the way down to virus stat levels. When you get any filters that will filter out viruses, they're going to be extremely hard to suck through or pump through. Right? It's just a fact. You're filtering down such a small safety net of microns that it's going to be hard to push through. So what's the solution? Well, don't force it. Let the air and the pump do all the work. So not only can you easily take a drink, you can pop this off and you can use this as a filtering device. You can fill up other containers with this. This has been my go-to backpack for all the adventure motorcycle videos that I've been doing over the last 6 years. But it is my favorite. We'll try to find links for it. I really hope the company still exists because hands down, it's bulletproof. It's earned my respect, even over the Camelbacks, and we'll talk about that in just a second. All right, while we're on the subject, Camelback, one of the biggest brands out there. They have a slightly different plastic that they use, and that's so that it keeps down that sort of rubbery plastic taste that nobody likes using from Camelbacks. A couple things I like about them is they started going to all these easy click connectors, so you can kind of interchange them. My favorite is still the one in my fire pack. It is a 6 liter. It's a 200-ounce bladder. It's a little bit big. It's a little overkill. But these will fit. Quarter turn adjustments. Still big enough to get my big mitts in here if I need to clean them. They did start using separation pieces so that the water doesn't slosh as well, and they can also change the shape a little bit. I've had a lot of these fail, so I don't put a ton of trust into them. They're a great way to carry water, and if it's a temporary situation and it's proven and it currently doesn't have a leak, doesn't mean it can't get a leak down the future. While you are in rule of law and it's not an emergency situation, feel free to use Camelbacks because they do have a great warranty. I had some issues and I've always had them warranted very easily and gotten back very quickly. Couple ones that I've tried on the motorcycle. This is a Sea to Summit bag. I liked it because it was low profile. It's square, so it fit on the back of the motorcycle easily. The secret to this one is it's literally like a Mylar bag, which you can also find if you absolutely need to in any sort of to-go carafes, the big boxes you get of coffee, big boxes of wine. A lot of preppers have been saving that for years. But this was something that had a little more protection to it. Those things tear easily. So this is in a form factor that can be strapped down to a motorcycle. You recognize the little push valve here from some of the wine. You can hang it in a tree. This is a great way to just carrying extra water when you're going through the desert, and has obviously passed. This is a 6 liter one. They do make, I think, a 4, 6, and a 10. But it has gotten my seal of approval. Now, as we continue on, the little roll-up bladders are just crutch, right? These don't take up any space, any room. There are a lot of filters that are designed to screw onto this, and you can easily carry more water, or when you find more water, take advantage of it. Also, drink the water. It's better in your body than it is carrying it on your back, right? So when you find water, sit there, take the time, go up all the water you have down, make new water. A few other bladders I've used over the years are this Platypus. They were probably the first one to run this zip feature. And again, you can, with Platypus, run an inline filter. This is their design. This one I just keep around the house because generally I can throw it in kind of a day pack for the kids or somebody else. And I've got lots of these little Platypus bags. They will yellow over time. It's probably the oldest one I've got right here. But it's still effective. It's not going to bust out. I've never had an issue with any of these. The newer designs taste a little bit better. It's slightly different Mylar material. I've not had any problems with them. I have heard of other people having problems with them simply because they are designed to squeeze through a filter, so you really have to kind of press on them quite hard. Guys, working our way down the container list. Don't forget, a lot of your water bottles, if they are out of metal, they can basically serve two purposes if you're making a kind of a go light kit. If you have a water bottle that is metal, you can put it over the fire and boil water that way. You don't necessarily need to carry a pot. And vice versa, if you need to carry more water, you can use a big boiling pot, but have a pot big enough that you can actually boil and clean enough water, generally, as my rule, to fill 1 liter Nalgene. Now these are also kind of collapsible. This is a Hydro Pack. This is not something I would put over the fire. It gets fairly small. It's kind of their original Hydro Pack, but again, if you're looking for something that clamps down very small, this is also a Hydro Pack, and this is also a 1 liter bottle, believe it or not. A lot of these companies have gotten very creative with their materials. This little guy here, believe it or not, let me blow it up here, is a 1 liter bottle. It is square in nature. It has attachment points. You can actually hook it to your pack, but this holds 1 liter as well. Many of these companies also have created small soft bladders. This is LifeStraw's version. Again, hollow fill. You can put a tube on the end, and we'll talk about that next in filtering. But to carry water that you can easily just squeeze out and filter, put in other containers is also a great way of doing it. There is a filter that will fit the Hydro Packs. It's just currently actually in one of my preparedness bags, so I don't have it on. All right, last bit of containers of water. This is a folding bucket, Sea to Summit, 10 liter. Very durable, rubber, multi-handled. You can kind of have a pour spout. I carry these for a number of reasons. One, I like having water near me if I'm having a campfire. If you're in a very silty area, if it recently rained a lot, sometimes the rivers have a lot of debris and silt in them. So what I will generally do is grab this full of water, sit it at camp. One, as an emergency fire, put her out, or if something happens, somebody needs water, you go for it. But what's going to happen is all that silt is going to settle to the bottom, and it's going to save your filter life over the lifespan. And I think I put this in all my kits. These are in the trucks. I've used these all over. If you've got the room for them, I would recommend putting them in some sort of bug out bag. But this would be a lot of extra weight. But it is come in handy so many times. I do put it in most of my kits I have, and it literally folds down to nothing. All right, guys, that wraps up water. This is going to be part one, and we're going to break it into 2 parts. We just covered, obviously, the containers and storing water, and now we're going to go into purification and filtering, which is a big proponent of preparedness. You can't store enough water forever. You're going to need to find some way to purify it and to make it potable. And let's talk about that in part 2. See you soon.
Thanks for all the love and support. You guys are amazing. Please like, share, and subscribe. Follow the adventure on social media, and we'll see you on the road.